Okay, welcome to the first actual video on the Lord Strider Does D&D YouTube channel. Before we get into the actual meat of this video, I just want to take a second to ask you very, very kindly to subscribe and tell all your nerd friends about me, because I've tried to start a thing here. Right, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the video. So our question today is, what is D&D? If you've been playing or DMing for a while, don't worry if you don't know what that means, then please still stick around. One, to help out the channel, and two, you might learn something. Now before we actually start answering that question, let's have a little history lesson. Think about where D&D came from and how it came to be. If you already know, or don't care, then there will be timestamps down below in the bottom. Yeah, please don't just click away. So, taking you back to the very beginning, D&D was made in 1974 by the esteemed Ernest Gary Gygax, aka God. He and his company at the time, Tactical Studies Rule, stumbled into the design of our beloved game initially from their medieval war-based game Chainmail, the first simulation of a player's handbook being the rules on how to implement their game into a fantasy setting. After Dungeons & Dragons first came out, we moved into Advanced D&D, or AD&D. In 1977, they introduced the first monster manual with this edition, which nowadays looks like this. The first official player's handbook and dungeon master's guides were released over the next 2 years. Now, in its base state, it was quite clear that D&D was heavily inspired by the Lord of the Rings franchise written by Tolkien. Eventually, this resulted in a large lawsuit, meaning that hobbits were replaced by halflings, ents by treants, and balrogs turned into Baelor. Other than that, and the satanic ritual accusations that we promise are not true, the game was an absolute hit in the 80s and 90s nerd communities, resulting in the company Wizards of the Coast, or WotC, in 1997, buying TSR, and 3 years later releasing the 3rd edition of D&D. Over the years since Lord Gygax first made the game, it has changed dramatically, at the moment with us playing its 5th edition rules. With 1D&D, the next edition, just around the corner, this video may be very outdated soon, but fear not, as I will most likely be covering that in a later video. So, on to playing the actual game. Bit of an overview, this video will now be split into 3 sections, which will also be timestamped below. The first being the game itself, and the second 2 being the 2 categories that D&D enjoyers may find themselves in. Playing the game, as a player, or running the game as a DM, Dungeon Master. Now, what do you actually do in D&D? For that one, I think I'll pass you back to the whiteboard. The way I and many others like to describe D&D is a group coming together to tell a story. In a basic sense, before we get into the 2 roles, everyone around the table works with each other to create the characters, places, and plot of a fantasy-based adventure. That's really all there is to it. The main thing to remember though is that decisions made are not definite. If you're here, then you probably already know that D&D involves dice. The big one here is the 20-sided dice, or what we call the D20. The general rule is say D, then its number of sides, and that's what the dice is called. If you want to do something, you roll the D20. Say you want to try and get a better deal on some potions, jump over a chasm, or search for tracks. You'd have to make a persuasion, athletics, or survival check. This involves rolling the D20 and checking how good your character is at doing that certain thing. A number will be assigned here which you add to the roll, and there's your answer. There are plenty of these different skills which you can attempt to utilise. Sorry for the interruption, I just wanted to quickly say I know this all looks terribly confusing. Don't worry. All of the little 3-letter stuff on the side I'll go over, the little dots I'll go over, I'll put all of that in a future video where I'll talk a little bit more about the character sheet, which is basically what your character comes from when we're talking about them in the game, and all the other aspects that seem really confusing here, I'll cover them later on, so don't get too worried about it. Alright, back to the rest of it. Rolling each of these is what we call making an ability check. Depending on how much you want the price down or how wide the chasm is, the DM will set a number which you have to meet or beat with your total ability check. Failing in some cases could have dire consequences. The number that the DM assigns is called a DC, or difficulty check. As a player, you'll be making lots of ability checks. They dictate your every action, so I think this is the perfect time to dive into that role a little bit more. When in the fantasy world of your D&D game, you as the player embody one specific person within this universe. You describe what they would like to do, and at times have conversations at the table as your character. The clips I'm about to show you are segments from the hit D&D stream Critical Role, which truly exemplifies what you have to do as a player.
Liam, if you would like to describe your character, please.
I'm pretty filthy. I have sort of a mess of reddish-brown hair, and really filthy road clothes. I wear a long coat that I slept in. I slept about 20 hours last night. Geez, unshaven, a bit of a mess.
So far, you're just talking
What
about
color
current
are your
Liam right now.
eyes? I need visual.
They're blue.
Like it.
There you go, character.
I am a little goblin girl. I am a goblin. So, you know, the green skin, the green hair, the yellow eyes. And she wears not great clothes, just like her traveling companion there. She kind of hides in the shadows a lot because she knows goblins aren't kind of welcome in this part. And that's about it. I mean, she's a little skittish.
But did you hear all that coin hit that table, Caleb?
I did. It's on the table, though, so I think on the table it will stay.
Yes, but we could follow them out. We could try spider eyes. Any of those could work
Are
together.
you guys staying here?
This blue-skinned tiefling suddenly leans over to view the table.
Don't move.
7 silver
Don't-
for you.
Don't move. Tieflings can only see movement.
And 16 copper.
I don't think
It's
that's
very true. We have a hard time seeing things that aren't moving. It's very true. But I can hear you. You should take a bath. You know they have showers here. It's possible.
What now?
You bathe yourself in water.
No, I've bathed before. Yeah, I know what a bath
Because you
is.
smell really bad and it's wafting over this direction. I'm just letting you know. I would hate if I smelled that bad and someone didn't tell me. You know?
I have only just met you.
Hi, I'm Jester.
Hi, I'm Caleb.
Nice to meet you, Caleb. How much silver did I just get?
7!
Woo!
See these long, elegant robes of deep green and gold, and this big smile on his face as he spins around.
Yes, I'm happy to help you.
DM, sorry, DM,
Yes.
before I engage in this. You said I've never encountered these, but I've read a lot, so I know
Yeah, you know of them.
I know
Yeah.
of them. This is my first encounter.
Yeah.
Dive in.
Yeah, hello. Wow, look at those horns. I'm so sorry. You know, I have never... Forget it. I am looking for... I've been in the woods for so long. I'm so happy to be in a metropolis again. I need, ink.
Before we can get to that, I just have to say you're respectfully terribly filthy. And this is an establishment that I have to insist requires some more cleanliness. And as he kind of waves his hand in front of you, you watch as all the dirt on your coat just begins to sift away. You watch as your clothing just becomes cleaned right up the front of you, reaching up towards your neck. And you watch as the dirt begins to kind of fleck away across your face.
I'm tilting, I'm arching my face.
As you fight it, a moment passes and you see before you, the first time since you've met, a sparkly, clean Caleb.
Caleb, what have you done to him? What have you done to Caleb?
Oh, you're just an excitable little friend there, aren't you?
This giant hand goes out and kind of pats you on the head.
It's gentle.
I have no idea.
At this-
I have no idea.
Yeah.
You're
one your favorite?
beautiful.
At this point, the two other figures in the back turn around, and it's the same guy.
What?
There's two more of the same furball, same outfit, same exact visual, and they both go,
Hi. Hi.
Bo, you're up.
Okay, I am going to vault off of the platform that I'm on. I'm gonna go for Toya. and I'm gonna take my bow staff. I'm gonna try and take her like where her throat is and grapple her down to the ground.
Okay.
Like to basically
Throat crush.
throat crush.
All right, make an acrobatics check.
Yeah, I did. No, okay. 15.
15. Okay, yeah. So you make the landing roll and go towards her. And you're gonna use your action to grapple.
Grapple her down.
Okay, go
Pin
ahead.
her down.
Go ahead and make an athletics check, please.
Knock her out. Don't fuck me up this time.
Oh, so close.
Is it 14? Yeah, it was 14. I know you can barely see that one. Athletics, you said? 19. 18.
Athletics,
18.
you
Sorry,
said?
18.
All right. As you land, you manage to grapple Toya, and using the staff, you press her against the wall, and the scared dwarf girl's eyes are just open wide. The singing falters for a second, but she continues to still sing, and you see her eyes looking around desperately for.
Do I have a bonus?
I mean, you have a bonus action, yes.
Can I crush it a little bit further and get her to stop singing?
I'm so proud of you. Crush that windpipe.
Just a little.
Technically, grapple is an attack, so it's attack action. So yeah, you can.
That's right.
And we're back. That last segment was taken from a fight, a part of D&D we call combat. I think we'll save that for a later video. So hopefully that was at least a little bit helpful in trying to show you what you might get up to at the table. Slight side note, if you're into or want to be into D&D, I've found Critical Role a great way to get a handle on the rules and just have a general good time. For those of you with a vivid imagination and who enjoy laughing, do yourself a favour and go watch it. You saw somewhat in those clips, but we're now going to move on to the role of the Dungeon Master. Don't comment on the hair. This is by far the most important role in the entirety of the D&D system. As the DM, you're responsible for creating the world and the people in it, making a plot, and most importantly, managing the rules. A thing you'll come to know is that D&D rules tend to be quite malleable per game, so one game will run a certain rule and one game will change it completely. So as a DM you have pretty much free reign over what you allow and don't allow. You are the one that makes this story possible and narrates the world to your players. Let me tell you, it can be a struggle. You are the struggle. But being a DM myself, I can tell you that seeing your friends get worked up or excited or sad about these plot lines and characters that have just popped out of your head is one of the most rewarding things that I can think of. Don't get me wrong, the players can often be the most pieces of shit you will ever encounter. They'll mess around in the serious moments, kill off the important NPCs. NPCs are characters in the world that are played by the DM, but aren't like characters, yeah, you know what I mean. Or just in general, not care about the things that you spent hours on. It's fine. We don't mind. Or they could just not show up to sessions altogether. The bebeg of any D&D game is scheduling. Anyone who would argue that is a liar. Just liar. Now, in terms of where you start, I would strongly advise not going straight in. Before you take the plunge, make sure you have either watched a game, like Critical Role, or played in a game, so you have some semblance of the rules. You're going to need the rules. Also, prepare yourself for things to go not quite how you pictured. Think about whether your ideal fantasy adventure is a D&D game or a book. What I mean by that is that sometimes you hear horror stories where DMs are trying to force their players, railroad is what we call that, down a certain plot line which they don't want to go down. If you think that could be likely to happen, a novel is probably the best way to tell your epic fantasy tale. Now believe me, I could, and probably will, make a whole series about the DM and their functions and roles. Where have I heard that before? But for this short overview, just remember, at the end of the day, the people you're running for are still your friends. If you're worried about something, or feeling like things are getting out of hand, talk to them. Make your feelings known, so everyone can get back on with having fun. There may be times when this doesn't resolve the issue, these things being specific to you or personal issues, and the only real thing I can say there is, if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying the game that you're creating, just walk away. If you can't fix it, then don't subject yourself to that. Well, on that slightly sour note, I think that's where we're going to wrap up today's video. Hopefully that's taught you a little bit about the game of D&D, some of the history, the different parts, the basic mechanics of everything. If you want another video on the rules and a bit more in-depth on the character sheet and all that stuff, I'll probably be doing it. But you can let me know that people want that by liking and commenting and doing all the good stuff. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. If you skip parts of it or watch through that whole spiel, you are appreciated. Yeah, you have no idea how much this means to me. Honestly, I've spent far too much time for this to be viable. So thank you very, very much. There will be more videos soon, so keep an eye out for all of them. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video. I'll be showing off some of the trinkets that I bought for myself on a little shopping spree. And yeah, until then, I will catch you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye. We did it! Yes! My hair looks like shit at the end, though.